college football. Right now, I'm really focused on what we're doing from a special team standpoint. We had a great walkthrough this morning. Got another special teams meeting and work to do this afternoon. So that's where our primary focus is all the outside stuff's working. And we're excited about where we're at, the work our players are doing as we continue to grow and develop these young men.
So I guess to follow up on that too, what has impressed you so far, I guess, just from this first week of camp?
I think a lot of the depth and competition that you're seeing, and we've got, you talk about the specialists, we've got a lot of competition in that specialist room. We continue to grow and develop those guys. They came in ready to go, ready to compete from the start, and that's been exciting to watch. I love watching the guys that we have from a special team standpoint continue to grow and develop from the fundamentals of the scheme, and the young guys we've added in that mix. And so that's been the part of the 3 practices, and as we head in our 4th today, we'll continue to watch. They got great energy, they got great effort, and we'll continue to master those fundamentals as we develop the schemes throughout this camp.
We'll go up front here to Rich and then Dan.
Stacy, over here to your right. Who are the candidates in the return game, and is Nick Singleton still among those in the kickoff return game?
Yeah, from a kickoff return standpoint, absolutely. Nick did a tremendous job for us last year. Katron Allen, both those guys have got a lot of reps for us. With that, guys that seen a lot of action last year too. We're fortunate to get a lot of guys. Amari Evans, this guy that's got really good speed. Adam Trey Potts, a guy with a history of playing special teams. And then we've got a crew of young guys that will continue to work and develop, continue to put those guys in situations. I think that's, especially when you get some young talented players to, where different kicks are at, the timing and the spacing. But there's been some young guys that, King Max got very good, really good ability, in Zion Tracy there. Elliott Washington has got elite speed. But there's some other young guys in that mix. We'll continue to work through it for 3 days, but it's been very, very solid.
Daniel?
Stacy, when you look at the team competition with Sander, Falcons, and Parker, what do you need to see, from one of them to seize the job? What are the little things you're looking for from them?
Yeah, great question. First of all, we're looking for consistency in overall, and I would say that in all our special teams. But right now, our focus has been just similar to what I talked about, from a situational standpoint. Continue to put those guys in different situations. I would say this with both Sander and Falcons right now, they're striking the ball extremely well. They've done a great job in the offseason preparing them for themselves for this competition throughout camp. And I really like where Ryan Barker is that, as a freshman coming in.
We'll go to Tyler over here.
Yeah, right back here. Looking at your punting situation, Alex got some involvement last year, but you went out and pursued a transfer. I'm curious how Riley's done in preseason camp thus far, and if there's anyone else we need to make sure that we're aware of in that mix-up punter.
Well, certainly Alex, he got a chance to get some game reps. Alex McKenna got some game reps last year. He's continued to have had a good offseason and compete for us. I like what Riley did throughout the spring. He prepared himself well during the offseason. 3 practices in, you're still working through a lot. Gabe has done a nice job, so we've seen him. He's got a big leg, and Mitch Groves here too. So there's a lot of competition, but we're just continuing to focus on the daily part of it. Me and Coach Frank will sit down once we get the chance to get through more parts of camp. But I like the growth and development that all 4 of those guys are doing. I like the competition that we have, and especially with punting, there's so many different situational punts that you got to work into. We'll grow and develop in that and look at it. But I like the work ethic they're putting in. I like that they're competing every day.
Any more questions for Stacy? We'll go up here to Daniel.
Stacy, when you look at the bullets on the outside in the punting game, there were guys who had a pretty big impact these past couple of years. We know that Malik is back, but who else is standing out in that group?
Yeah, and guys should bring up a return too is Daquan Harvey. He's done a great job as both a punt returner and a kick returner. Day-Day's got a chance, Daquan's had a chance to do that out there for us, Trey's done. We've got a deep group of guys with great speed. Our strength and conditioning staff has done an unbelievable job with our speed. So there's a lot of bullet players that we're working at now. Similar to what I was talking about with the punting situation, there's been a lot of situational things that we're going to put these guys in throughout camp, and I think it's going to be a deep group. It's a group that's getting a lot of reps, a lot of fundamental technique reps right now, and we'll continue to see that as we go through camp.
Mark.
Stacy, you guys started that tradition of the 0 jersey with Jonathan. Is that something that's going to continue? And if so, at what point will you make that decision?
Yeah, we're looking at every rep on tape, every rep on camp. You know, you talk about bullets. Another guy I should have brought up is Malik McLean. You look at what Don Luca did last year on special teams, but it's a new number 0 that we're going to get a chance to see. We're excited for it. I'm excited to watch our kids compete every day. We have the SWAT player of the day every day that, you know, emulates what we're looking for on that practice field. So as we get towards the end of camp, we'll get a chance to, you know, evaluate that, see what it is. But I like the competition we have. I like what our guys are doing from a fundamental
So
standpoint.
is this like the quarterback battle where you're gonna wait until the very end?
We'll wait till I'll sit down with coach and with staff, and we're ready to do that. We'll make that decision. Yeah.
Tyler, back here.
Stacey, James keeps indicating that this might be the deepest team that he's had assembled here. That usually is a good thing for special teams coordinator, putting together coverage units and all that. How can you benefit from the 3 deep on a defense and kind of filtering out those cover spots? And you mentioned some freshmen in the return game. Can you give us some names of freshmen who are putting themselves in that coverage conversation, maybe find a pathway to early playing time that way?
Yeah, so depth is, you know, anytime you have depth as a special teams coordinator, when you sit in my shoes, that gives you the chance to have more and more work, be able to develop this, because it's a long season, right? That season, you never know, maybe KJ Winston's a great example, where maybe early on last year, you didn't see a lot of him in special teams by the second half of the season, you know, he's primarily a 3-team starter for us. So that's the growth and development that we're looking for. Some young guys, I mean, you know, I think you got to look at Tony Rojas, you know, linebacker that's got great, you know, speed, athleticism with it. There's a lot of guys in that mix right now. It's still pretty early in the camp, so we'll continue to look. But I do like what we're seeing. I like the athleticism that we have. You know, I'll give another shout out to our strength and conditioning staff, because you're seeing a lot of competition and deep lists as we go through our special teams drills.
Any more questions for Stacy? Tyler?
You brought him up and everyone seems to. Tony Rojas, I'm going to tap into your role as a linebackers coach with this team as well. What has he done in fall camp that makes him a little bit different than what he was in spring camp when we heard so much about him?
Well, that young linebacker crew is a talented crew. You know, the guys that came, we had Keon Wiley a year ago, who's been here for a year. You have Tony, and you have Tamir that all were able to get here in the spring, and Gavion Keys has done a nice job popping in also. So I think the biggest part is when you have a spring under your belt, you understand the drills, you understand the concepts of what we're looking for. That always helps put somebody ahead.
Last question, Daniel, right here.
Chris Stoll was here for a long time and leaves a pretty big vacancy at the long snapper spot. What stands out to you about Tyler Dzanski and that group overall?
Yeah, you know, Tyler's work ethic is the first thing that stands out. What type of player he is every day, the time he puts in. You know, obviously Chris Stoll is a great player, but you know, the ability to get a lot of these specialists time on the field last year. Tyler's one of those guys we're able to get into a game setting, but Tyler's extremely consistent with, you know, from a snapping standpoint. He's consistent as a person both on and off the field, and he's done a really good job here early in camp, and we're excited to see that continue as we finish camp.
All right, thank you very much, Stacy. We'll have Manny here next.